let's start with some sleepers. And by sleepers, I mean guys that probably fans may not be familiar with unless they're fans of that particular college or they're really deep into the draft coverage. But for a lot of folks that are coming from the NFL and their team needs a wide receiver, they know the top 5 or 6 guys. But Josh, give me a name of someone that people should be looking out for if their team drafts this young man on April 27th through the 29th.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Princeton wide receiver Andre Iosivas, a player that was highly productive during his time in the Ivy League. I thought he ran really well at the combine, 4.43 in the 40-yard dash. Thought he looked really good in the on-field portion of the combine as well. So it's not like he's just this athletic specimen that does not translate to the football field. I think he's somebody that in an ideal situation, he steps in as a third outlet for a team possibly like the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Seahawks as well. One of those types teams where he's not going to be the focal points early, but a player that has all the athletic skill sets that you look for and hope that he can develop into something more throughout his career.
So he was also at the Senior Bowl. Rick and I saw him there. 6'2" and 7/8. Rick, 212 pounds of the combine. Do you care about hand size for wide receivers, Rick?
A little bit, but usually the smaller hand receivers end up doing a lot more body catching just to secure the catch than what we refer to as natural snatch and pluck type hands, where they extend away from their body. So smaller handed receivers are usually the ones that are going to do more body catching.
So Iosivas is 8 5/8 inch hands, which are small hands by quarterback standards. How do you feel about that for a wide receiver?
Small hands for a receiver for his size. Now he was one of the little slots that we've talked about. That's different, but for a big receiver, that's a pretty small hands. Not that he's not going to be a good player, but if you're at this time of year and then you're in your draft meetings, usually you're poking holes in everything you can about all these players.
Yeah, 2-time heptathlon, excuse me. So he's athletic in terms of NCAA. He went to Princeton.
He didn't drop the javelin, did he, Josh? Because with those small, tiny hands or discus or anything like that.
I don't believe that was an issue. No, I didn't see that on film.
Our buddy Emery Hunt is listening live, and he says, I need to sit up straight. So I'll sit up straight for you, Emery. Thank you for that. That's literally, we've been doing this podcast for 3 months, and that's the only comment that Devo's ever put into the chat. I go back and read the comments. Oh, that would have been good.
We all respect all the hard work and energy you put into this podcast, Ryan, as the quarterback of this podcast. We're just here to support you any way we can.
That sounds like a quarterback that you plan to put out to pasture as soon as the season's over. We're going to support you until week 17, and then it's hit the bricks time. Josh, what do you think about a draft range for Iosivas? And I'll tell you where I had him going.
Yeah, I think you're probably looking at early day 3. Maybe he slips into late day 2 at this point. I think that's probably the range that he's looking at, even though I think the skill set, the athletic traits kind of warrants maybe a little bit earlier consideration.
I had him 5th round range, Rick, and I thought of the Senior Bowl he was okay. Didn't blow the doors off, didn't hurt himself, I didn't think. Where are you on Iosivas?
He blended in. Down at the Senior Bowl, I thought nothing that really stood out. I know he's a great athlete and he can run well enough for his size, even though he has tiny hands. But he didn't really pop out to me down at the Senior Bowl watching him in the practices. But he would be a good Saturday pick for someone to take an opportunity to take a chance on an athlete with this size.
So he's an FCS player because he played at Princeton, and when you're sitting in the draft meetings this time of year, and he went to the Senior Bowl and blended in, didn't stick out, didn't hurt himself, that weighs in the evaluation, I would imagine, because he's not playing against SEC or Big Ten cornerbacks every week.
No, he's playing against, what school did you go to?
William & Mary.
Madison, William & Mary, they're all the same. They're all blending together over there in the East. Josh, where did you go to school?
Went to Ohio University and then Xavier for my master's. So I had a much better chance of playing football for Xavier, considering they don't have a football team, than I did at Ohio University.
Bobcats?
That's right.
How about that, Rick? Josh got in the old I went to graduate school flex.
There we go. Okay, they're a tough guy. Let me put all my degrees up on the back of the wall.
A couple of Ohio guys, we got to stick together when we're talking
Rick.
about
you're right.
uppity Northerners like Ryan here.
Northerners, look up in North Carolina.
Well, you're Northerner now.
All right, Rick, your guy, another guy at the Senior Bowl who I thought had actually flashed a little more than Iosivas did. Jaden Reed, Michigan State wide receiver, who I'll double check, but he blazed a good time. Four, 4.5.
Yeah, he ran well at the combine. I thought he was one of the guys that did stick out down at the Senior Bowl. When you watch the tape on him, he's a very good route runner, especially short and intermediate. I didn't see the time speed on tape. I thought he was slower than what he ran. He's not consistent going up to get the 50-50 ball, but he does do a great job with the ball in his hands after the catch. He's very elusive. He can make plays in space. Biggest other negative is that he has a few concentration drops at times that need to get cleaned up. But I think this kid's going to carve himself out a role as a third slot receiver and potential returner.
So I had him going a round earlier than Iosivas, like 4th round, early Saturday. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel good about that because I respect everything you do and all the hard work you put into this. Of course, I would respect that.
Josh, do you respect that, or do you feel different?
Yeah, you get a little returnability with him as well, so you get a little bit more versatility out of a pick like Jaden Reed.
All right, there we go. This is a very happy podcast today. I love it. And my defenses are low dealing with this puppy, so that's good. I don't have the wherewithal to fight off all the negativity that I sometimes have coming my way. I won't name names, Josh, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. My sleeper, and this guy really isn't a sleeper if you follow college football, but maybe if you don't follow college football, you wouldn't know the name. I'll give you 2 names. The first one's Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati, who is electric. And Rick, you were watching him over the weekend or last week, and you thought he was a little stiff. I didn't see the same stiffness you saw at times. I thought he was pretty electric with the ball in his hands. Oddly enough, and I'll double check, I think he's 5. I think he measured 5'11", 185 at the combine, ran a 4.44. I think he plays to that speed, but he lined up primarily outside. And I thought that was interesting because you would like to see him move around at the next level, given his size. He, where is he? There he is. And he does have some, actually, let's see. No, he doesn't have any return ability. I was checking my notes to double check here. So he had 6 kick returns in his career, no punt returns. So you don't get that added element. I suppose you could try him at it once it gets around to OTAs, but that's a gamble. But I do like the way he plays. I like the speed at which he plays. He continuously eats up cushion. He continuously stacks cornerbacks down the field. He's not a huge target, but he made enough contested catches for my liking. And I had him actually as a middle day 2 guy. I don't know how you guys feel about Tyler Scott. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, that's about the range I have him as well. He actually did do some punt returning, some kick returning at his pro day.
Oh, good.
So he's being explored in that avenue a little bit more, but I thought he did a really good job with his route running. I thought you saw his ability to sink his hips, explode into his route when he, was at his pro day. I saw all of that on film, but when you saw him at his pro day, it's just a little bit easier to envision what he could be at the next level. So I think he's really good at the route stem. I think he does a great job of creating separation, and I was pretty comfortable with what I saw in terms of him being a possible day 2 pick.
So, Rick, when you see someone that's 5'11", 185, doesn't have much in the way of on-field return ability during their college career, but tried at the pro day, and they play primarily outside, what are your concerns?
Yeah, the biggest concern I had with him was that when I charted his drops, they were all at the belt or lower. So anytime he had to adjust below his waist is when he had all his drops. I thought he tracked the ball deep very well. I think he's just okay in 50-50 contested situations, but there's no question this guy blows by people on the tape, and someone's going to fall in love with that speed, and he's going to be a legit vertical threat at the next level. When you look at, this guy hasn't done returns, the first place you want to put him at is as a kickoff returner because that's easy to catch. You don't have people breathing down your neck. And if you can get this kid to get it upfield and hit a seam, he has a chance to take it the distance every time he touches the ball. Punt return is a little more difficult because that is a situation where you feel people around you. Guys have a tendency to take longer, if they can do it at all, to try to become a punt returner because you have to be – it's pretty natural at catching that ball and knowing you're probably going to get whacked after you catch the ball. But I can see him more as a team looking with that speed and the way he puts his foot in the ground and gets upfield, hitting a seam and being a potential kickoff returner.
And at Cincinnati, it's hard to get in on the kick returns because you have Trey Tucker there, who is also at the Senior Bowl and who will also get drafted and who's a very good player. He's undersized, but we'll talk about him at some point in the process, I'm sure, or talk about him again. I know he talked about him during the Senior Bowl. Another name I want to mention quickly, Matt Landers out of Arkansas, 6'4", 199. This dude ran a 4.37 at the combine. Now, he didn't play that fast, but he's long-legged, deep threat, and great at contested catches. Not a precise route runner. I think that's something that he needs to work on. And but it's hard to get away from the fact that he ran the 4.37. And you see flashes of that on tape in terms of him running by people. He'll also be 24 in a few months, and he's a little older, on the older side, a 6-year senior. But I had him as a middle-of-the-day 3 guy. And, Rick, you see the 4.37, you see the 6'4" frame, you see him running by people with contested catches. Those are all things that would get your attention. And if he struggles or he's not a precise route runner, are you okay with that if your wide receivers coach is okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to work this kid out. You're going to see how stiff he is in his hips, but he is a vertical threat. Someone will take a flyer on him. I don't think in the middle of Saturday. I think he's a late day Saturday or a priority free agent. But someone will take a swing on the kid because of the size and the speed.
What do you think, Josh? Did you get a chance to see? You must have seen him. You've seen like 600 guys.
No, he's actually one that I have not watched yet, so I'm going to stay in my own lane here. Yeah.
Look at that. Finally, I found one guy that you hadn't seen that I had seen.